Ladies and gentlemen, we are back once again as Hashtag Sports presents the post game for the Buffalo Bills versus the Houston Texans, sponsored by Mr. Rogers Homes and CBDX.com. Make sure you check out Sean Rogers' brochure in the description of this video. Top 1% realtor out in Arizona, so make sure if you're thinking of relocating out to the Valley of the Sun, Sean's got you covered, as well as CBDX.com. If you use the promo code HTS, you get an extra 20% off your order there. So make sure you check it out at CBDX.com. As always, you can find all of our stuff at iTunes and Spotify. And, we're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Tim Hortons, sometimes Papa John's, Little Caesars, all that other good stuff. And just let you guys know that we have our Patreon and merch links down in the description of the video too. So if you want to rock some sweet hashtag merch, you can go and do that. Buffalo Bills with an impressive. I always catch Paul with the descriptive words I want to use with the post game. Bills with an impressive 40-0 victory against the Houston Texans today, as we always do. I'm going to shoot it over to my partner in crime. Initial thoughts on the game today, Paul.
Hey, man, nothing says wonderful like when the Bills PR on Twitter can put out things like the Bills have, let's see here, the Buffalo Bills have limited opponents to 44 points this season, the second fewest through the first 4 games of the season. The best was 40 points allowed in the wonderful year of 1982, the year of my birth. Congrats to Jaquan Johnson, his first career INT. Dawson Knox already had a career high for touchdown receptions. How many games are we into the season so far? Things are going good, man.
Wasn't he at Ole Miss with DK Metcalf and Hollywood? Was Hollywood Brown at Ole Miss? I can't remember.
It's one of the Browns.
One of those.
I always forget. Yeah, I think it was Hollywood.
Yes, Daniel Garr. You got all the usual suspects coming in. If you're in here, like everyone has said, smash that like button. It goes out to all the Bills fans, and we could definitely. Paul and I feed our families with likes, so make sure you guys hit that like button. Josh Allen with a very efficient 20 for 29 for 248 after he was 20 for 28 after that first pass. Whoops. But the rain conditions and stuff like that. Paul, here's the thing. I want to come out of the gate firing on this one because it's the first thing I thought of right at post game. I talked to you about it a little bit before we came on live. You played Big Ben, Jacoby Brissett, Tyler Haneke, what doesn't matter, and Davis Mills. Okay,
right.
None of those 4 guys are the opponent you're going to be facing next, and
Nope.
Patrick Mahomes. So while I'm excited, here's what happened. I got so excited that the Bills are doing what they're doing defensively and how they're performing as a team. I started to take a step back. I'm like, oh, who'd they beat? We always got to do that. We always got to try to temper expectations. Who did they beat as far as quarterbacks go? But then I said, when I heard about the 44 points, I went, wait a minute. Whoa. This has to be record-breaking for first 4 games. 2 shutouts. So I went back into the time machine. I called up Omaha, the stat monkey, and he helped me out with some stuff.
Omaha. Oh my God.
Is back.
That goes back to the podcasting days for some of you.
Those that don't
goes
know.
back to the podcasting days. All right, yeah. So what did Omaha say?
So here's what Omaha told me. Here's what Omaha kicked out. The Bills currently, after today's game, only surrendering 109 yards. Yes, you heard that correctly. Have given up a total of 867 yards of offense in 4 games. 867. So I went back and I looked at some legendary defenses, Paul. I looked at it. Who's the first one to come to mind? 1985 Bears, right? 1985 Bears.
Who was on that team? Who was on that 1985 Bears team?
Leslie Frazier.
Leslie Frazier was on that 85 Bears team. All right, please continue. Sorry.
Okay. The Bears surrendered in their first 4 games while going 4-0, 1,334 yards. Do you know who they played? Steve DeBerg, Tony Eason, Tommy Kramer, and Joe Theismann. Okay? In 1985. Just to let you guys know. The next one, because you said you want to go chronologically for these. The 2000 Ravens. We all know about the 2000 Ravens. Legendary defense. They just killed everybody. They opened with a 3-1 start, gave up 996 yards in the first 4 games, playing Scott Mitchell, Jay Fiedler, Mark Brunell, and Kent Graham. Yeah. we're starting to get into that major league thing. Like, who the hell is this guy? You know? All right. Then the most recent, obviously, the Legion of Boom, the Seahawks in 2013 when they won the Super Bowl. They gave up 1,201 yards playing against Cam Newton, Colin Kaepernick, Chad Henne, and Matt Schaub. Okay. So I just completely debunked my opening statement of doesn't matter what quarterback you play against, Paul. All three of those teams won the Super Bowl eventually, just to let you know.
First off, that's a great. You should have led with that, right? You should lead with that. But I just want to defend. Scott Mitchell seemed like a good idea at the time, right? Let's just put it out at the time. Scott Mitchell seemed like a good idea. So in the rear view, I get why you're like, oh, Scott Mitchell, police and whatever. But at the time, that one made a lot of sense. But
what I'm trying to say is I gave the quarterbacks for the Bills who they played in the first 4 games, obviously only surrendering 44 points. They surrendered 867 yards in the first 4 games. So #Nation Bills Mafia. Whoever wants to try to say that you guys didn't play any quarterbacks this year, replay the first 2 minutes of this to them. Look at the quarterbacks, because nobody mentions those quarterbacks when you talk about those teams. They just say 85 Bears, 2000 Ravens, 2013 Seahawks. They were great. Now, I didn't bother looking up the Patriots when they had that really good year. Was it 2018? They had a really good defense. And then
because nobody wants to know about the Patriots.
0 people want to know about the Patriots. So that being said, Buffalo Bills, as we said, are 3-1 for first quarter of the year. They're 3-1. A lot of people asking how did they lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers, but coming out of this game, what's the thing that's the biggest highlight for you coming out of this game, Paul?
I'd said this on. I'd stopped into Tailgate Talk with Tommy and Mike Friday at 7:30. For those of you that don't know, we have a running show. Tommy and Mike host that 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. I'd stopped in and said, this game, Buffalo needed to run the ball, expect them to run the ball a lot. And they put 199 yards on the ground. Now, mind you, full transparency, 10 of those yards are from Mitch Trubisky. But 189 actual real yards are from regular players on your team. So I'm very happy with that, right? This is a game where, and you and I talked about this, Mar, there's a point where you have to look at what you're going to put on film, right?
True. Yes.
And when you're playing a team like Houston, you look at the inactives and you're like, okay, Poyer's inactive. All right. Matt Breida's inactive. Well, fine, whatever. Obata's inactive. Okay, fine, whatever. Oh, Vernon Butler's inactive. Okay, well, that's a little different. Oh, Teron Johnson, he's inactive. Okay, well, that's a problem, right? And you start seeing starter, and Feliciano's inactive. You're starting to see starters not be active. You're like, oh, I don't know if I like where this is going. And then, they go and absolutely smack the Southern fried piss out of those guys. And you can't beat it, right?
No.
But this is a game where you needed to be careful about where you're going to put on film, right? I truthfully believe that. Same with last game against Washington. You need to be careful about what you put on film because you're going against the reigning AFC champs next week.
Yes, you are.
With a Hall of Fame coach. You need to be careful about what you put on film. And I thought Buffalo did a great job of really not giving away too much. I don't think there's anything that they ran today that I can say, damn, I wish they saved that for Kansas City. There's not a single thing that I could think of.
No, you don't want to do that. I mean, they've played each other 3 times in the past 2 years. Mm-hmm. Was it 3 times or possibly 3 times in the past 2 years?
Kansas City?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Twice in the past year. And they played them twice last year. I know that. But
twice last year and then once this year. So 3 in the last 2. Yeah.
Okay. So the deal is, I mean, you got a guy over there too that scares me the most, which is Steve Spagnuolo, who's eaten Brian Dable's lunch the last few years as far as doing that. I mean, that's a guy who you never take food away from, apparently. But that being said, all that intertwined that you just brought up, Paul, you look at the teams that the Buffalo Bills have played: Washington, Houston, Miami. Mm-hmm. These are teams that if they get down 7, they're in trouble. Mm-hmm. If they get down 14, it's almost like an insurmountable lead. That's a different mindset going into Kansas City this week. Right. It's going to be completely different because you can have them down 21-0. Ask the Houston Texans about that in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So Tony B coming in. Thanks, Tony B. He's always got to help me out. What are you thinking? This is a 9-win team? Yeah, by week 10. Sure. I got you, Tony B, my boy. You guys are the best, I swear to God. But obviously you have to look at the opponents that they're playing.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. And I told you this, Paul, before we came on. It's not like they beat Houston by 14. It wasn't like they beat Washington by 7, and they did all of this stuff. They're dominating with depth now.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the process. This is the blueprint that you have. You got these young guys that are coming in. Basham, Boogie played well today. Star Ed Oliver was a manimal. Jaquan coming in, and Cam Lewis. One play he made in the backfield looked like he was shot out of a cannon.
So let's talk about that real quick, right? Because everybody's going to be surprised thinking that these guys are young players. This is their 3rd year in the system.
Yes.
This is their 3rd year,
mm-hmm.
right? These are the investments that you make in practice squads. So many other teams squander practice squad spots. This is the process. Like you lose Jordan Poyer and you have Jaquan Johnson, who is sort of like a budget version of Jordan Poyer, right? He's a hyper aggressive safety, right? He's not the fastest guy, but he loves to pound, and that fits very much what Poyer does. Do we have a free safety like Micah Hyde? Well, that's what Damar Hamlin is there for, right? And Damar Hamlin made a great pass breakup late in the game.
He did.
So the Bills have done a great job of finding the type and then finding the guys who are willing to be patient enough for their turn. And Jaquan Johnson, this is 3rd year in the system. Cam Lewis, this is his 3rd year. I hate to say that you expect this, but when a team invests that many resources into a player for that long, this is what you need from them. This is why they're here. This is what they're here for. So this is all part of the process. This shouldn't surprise anybody, right? This is what they're there to do. They've been in the system long enough. And now that the practice squad has been expanded, you're going to see Buffalo do this often.
Yeah. And I think we did an episode, I believe it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks before training camp started.
Mm-hmm.
And we started to talk about, this is the culture that's been created in Buffalo where, there's certain positions that are guaranteed to certain players. Obviously Josh Allen, Trey White, Tremaine Edmonds, but the positions that aren't necessarily like 100% guaranteed, they're going to let those guys fight it out.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to let those guys, it's going to be a cutthroat thing. And if you don't make the starting squad, then they're going to give you the tools needed to become a starter or the things you need to work on to become better.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about these guys that this is their 3rd year here. Well, you look at the horses that are in front of them. Look at a Teron Johnson, and then you go down to Cam Lewis, and you look at Jaquan Johnson. You're not replacing Poyer unless he's hurt. You know what I mean? Like today. So Jaquan Johnson is that cycling of the position that we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about it on the hashtag Hangover yesterday. You have Addison and Hughes are on the last year of their deal. So what do? They get Basham and Rousseau in this draft. They're cycling that position. They're giving these guys. They're drafting guys that don't necessarily need to start right away, with the exception of obviously Trey White and Josh Allen and Tremaine Edmonds. But then you come over and you say, you look at these guys that are coming in. They were the best physical athletes at the position when they were drafted.
Mm-hmm.
And which brings me to seriously. I even came up from Hendog, breakout year for Knox and Moss.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, Knox was the best physical athlete at the position at the time when the Bills drafted him. Now, everyone was always down on Knox and this and that and the third. We were even down on him a little bit when I said, listen, just this guy, he's going to be comfortable in his role. He doesn't have to be the superstar on this team as far as the tight end goes. Mm-hmm. We know former EP systems, tight end was very, very heavily involved. They ran the EP up in Denver. We never really mentioned that much with Peyton Manning. Who was there? Oh my God!
You really? This is a real question.
I'm actually asking you.
Oh, this is a legitimate question. I was so used to you asking me rhetorical questions and speaking to me like I'm 5. Okay, sorry. Run that back for me again to make sure I didn't miss any details there.
Never mind, Paul. Never mind.
No, it's you need to understand my mind was a little down the road because as you're talking about this, right? My head is talking.
Julius Thomas. Julius Thomas. Sorry.
Yeah.
I had to look him up for you real quick. But Julius Thomas, you look at the original EP guys, In New England, you had Gronk there, obviously.
Mhm.
So that's how it was really run. But now this system, how it's been morphed, has been running through the wide receivers. And obviously, you still have Beasley there. Beasley was like a ghost today, man.
Yeah,
That
two
was weird.
receptions. What, 2 for 16 or 2 for 19?
Yeah, I
But,
didn't see it very much.
Right, but that's going to happen when you have, Diggs go for his first 100-yard game. Sanders almost had another 100-yard game. And can we there's 3 major things that I want to talk about as far as players go. I'm just going to list them off right now. One, it is absolutely a pleasure to watch Emmanuel Sanders play the wide receiver position in this offense.
God.
It is just such a pleasure because he grinds every snap. He's blocking downfield on every run play for the most part. The soft spots that he finds in man and zone coverage, he's got such a great feel for running routes. Like, he is just a pleasure to watch, right? 2, can we give a big Sean McDermott clap for Boogie Basham and his first sack in the NFL? It's at home.
Boogie.
Hey, great job for him, right? Like,
yes.
If you draw up buying in, that's it, right? Like, you draft a player, you draft him early. Like, it's not like Basham was a player that you picked in the 5th round and he's disappointed he's not starting, right? This is a player who probably had aspirations of being on the active roster every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been inactive for every game up until today. And then to go and work like a dog and get his first sack, good for him, man. That's buying in. I'm all about that. All about that. All about that. And then lastly, Spencer Brown.
Oh my God.
Spencer
that
Brown.
was a shakeup. That to me was going to be my biggest storyline for the day was the shakeup they had on the offensive line. I was not expecting that, but you look at it as it makes sense. Hindsight, obviously 2020. Mm-hmm. You look at it, you're like, okay, Poyer's out. They took Tehran out. You started Boogie Basham, took Butler out. Okay, let's see how this line looks with this.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be even with the 199 yards on the ground with the way the Buffalo Bills ran the ball, I would venture to say that defensive front are not in the top 5 in tackles in this game because that offensive line took care of business today. Now, were there times where Spencer Brown looked like he was a rookie? Yeah, there was. Sure. But by and large, I mean, you said it before the game, and I'll just say it because you won't remember.
That's fair. That's fair.
Other than drawing him a bath, you can't make Spencer Brown more comfortable than to put him next to Williams when you're starting him at tackle.
Yeah, I would have remembered that point. That was a good one. I would have remembered that one. Yeah, you can't give a rookie a better opportunity to succeed than to take the starting right tackle and just move him into guard to help him along. Like, you really can't make his life any easier. And if that's any indication of how the right side of now, there were miscommunications at times. So let's not say it was all golden because it wasn't. Houston realized that they could stunt, and get some pressure off of them just because of communication. And those two probably have never even practiced right tackle, right guard before. Like, in reality, it probably if they have, it's been very limited, right? I don't think that's how they drew it up. But OG Bobby Johnson obviously was not happy with Cody Ford after rolling back the tape, and you give somebody else an opportunity. And Sean McDermott in his post game said, I want to be real clear about this. Cody Ford is still a good football player. That's what he.
Why would you say anything bad about him? He's trade bait. Why would you? I mean, not for a high pick. I mean, he's traded guards out of here.
Right.
I mean, didn't he trade? Who was the tackle he traded? He actually got value for. Who came in from Carolina. He traded. Who was abysmal?
Marshall New. So let's
Newhouse.
see. Marshall Newhouse. Yeah.
Didn't he trade Newhouse?
He sure did. Yeah.
All right, let's address the elephant in the room now, Paul. We're going to do that.
What's that?
Steve Lynn comes in. Milano concerned versus KC.
Oh yeah, Milano hurt.
Yeah, went to the tent. Was a hamstring. I believe it was hamstring.
That's what I heard.
Elliott comes in. Wyatt Teller. We know Wyatt. We know Elliott. We know
tackle. Didn't play tackle, guys. Didn't play tackle. Yeah. So Milano a little banged up, right? But you got to see, and I unfortunately was accurate about this when I said we were going to get to see a healthy dose of AJ Klein. I did not predict a Milano injury, but it's Matt Milano, guys.
Oh my God, no.
I did say we're going to
You
get a
take
healthy
it
dose
back.
of AJ Klein. Might have Muliuch that one. Not going to say I didn't. But
That's the first Muliuch reference in 3 years.
yeah, might have Muliuch that one. But and you can't take that back once it's out. It's out. So Milano's a really tough player to replace, right, in this defense because he just does everything. He frees up Tremaine to an incredible level. Do I think that long-term AJ Klein is the Matt Milano replacement? I have a feeling Terrell Dodson is more Matt Milano replacement if this were going to be anything that's long-term, right? If it's going to be long-term.
Mm-hmm.
So just put him in a box, man. You really need it for Kansas City because they'll eat you up across the middle of the field. They'll eat you up in the middle of the field. You have to have Matt Milano healthy. So whatever you got to do to get him healthy, that's what you got to do.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
He's not hurt.
What?
He's not hurt.
You just think banged up, and they said that's enough for
sleight
today.
Of hand. That's sleight of hand on McDermott's part. I mean, you took
there was no reason to put it back in.
There wasn't. There was no reason because you knew they weren't going to get the ball off. You weren't worried about Davis Mills tearing you up and shredding you with the tight end. I really think that it's a little bit sleight of hand. I mean, you talk about him being out versus Kansas City with a hamstring prior to last year's regular season game. You look how that manifested.
Right.
It could be a little bit of mind games playing with Kansas City, saying, "Oh, hey, if Milano's not in, we don't even really need to change very much stuff."
There were no hard feelings to Milano not playing. You're getting guys opportunities. Everybody got an opportunity in this game. You know who didn't get an opportunity to play at their designated position? Taiwan Jones. Didn't see a Taiwan Jones rush today, now did you? Everybody got to play except Taiwan Jones. I know. But even Tyler Minkavich had an interception today, man. Come on now. Everybody was getting in on the party.
The point is, that's a little different when you have a defense that's doing what they're doing and two running backs who have had a little bit of trouble with fumbling the ball this year. And I would like to keep that rotation alive with both of them like they did today.
So I want to give you credit when I said, Mario, what's the over-under on Bills fumbles today? What did you tell me?
3.
Sure did. How many did the Bills have?
3. It's a push.
Yeah. Straight push. But you're pretty close. Pretty close. I don't think anybody was shocked to see a Devin Singletary fumble at this point. It seems to be every game there's a Devin Singletary fumble. Yeah, and that's going to bite you sooner or later. The Bills have avoided being snake bitten by that, but the fact of the matter is it's going to happen eventually. Tony B saying they're saving Taiwan for the playoffs. I don't think so.
Hey,
I don't think so.
He knocked the Bills out of the playoffs.
He sure did. Single-handedly knocked the Bills out of the playoffs. You are absolutely right about that. And we have enough people watching at this point. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to #sports. We're kind of fun over here, in case you didn't know.
Yeah, we don't take ourselves too seriously over here.
Oh, dear God,
as you can tell by my hat. I mean,
that is a fashion choice that I will never understand, man. I will never get that.
You know what, Paul? Like many things that happen in #sports by accident. I was wearing it the one day. It was freezing in my house because where I broadcast from, where my office is, it's above my garage, which is, as you know, if you have any kind of room over a garage in Western New York, if it's not properly insulated, this is
chilly.
You're gonna get a little chilly. So I had it on, not even thinking that I had it on the one post game, and everybody in the nation called me out on it and said it. It was after a win, so I was like, okay, I guess this is becoming a thing now. So Donnybrook coming in. Casey had trouble with the Eagles today. Donnie, I like it and I don't like it, and the simple fact is I don't know if there's any crossover you could have because matchups are what determine a lot of these games that go on in the NFL. I don't think there's anything similar between the Eagles and the Buffalo Bills. That you could look at an Eagles game and say, maybe a play or two, you could say, oh, if we run this formation, we run that type of play, maybe that can expose them here and blah, blah, blah. And this. Teams are already, really just dialed in with their offensive game plans and how they want to attack certain players. I don't see a lot of crossover between the Eagles and Bills. So a team may struggle with one team and then completely just obliterate another one. So that's just if you look at the first 4 weeks of the NFL, you look at any of the games, you're like, what? How is this happening? What's going on here? What's this, and this? I mean, Jacksonville was beating Arizona last week for a little while.
Mm-hmm. Sure
Like,
were.
Yeah.
Sure were. I want to give credit where credit is due. The Mafia Sports Report, that's Tommy from our Tailgate Talk Show. He did say that the Bills were going to absolutely thump Houston on the Friday show. I do want to again claim, I told him I expected the Bills to be vanilla. I think this is a push, right? I think the Bills were pretty vanilla today. So he told me, no, they're going to blow them out. And we were having a different conversation, right? I said vanilla. He thought that meant not a lot of points. Joe said, I do want to blow Joe out of the water, though. I got to blow up Joe's spot. He said that the game could be close, like within 6. I was like, I see where he's coming from. I guess that's probably where I went wrong with that conversation was I kind of had Joe's back a little bit on that. I was like, well, I see where you're coming from here. It's going to be vanilla, like probably not going to have Poyer. Like, I see where he's coming from. I might have read the room wrong there on that one.
You convinced him on the trap game stuff.
I did. Yeah, I had them all built for the trap game. Yeah, nothing says whoops like a goose egg, right?
Oh my! Puka comes in. Josh Gordon coming for us. Paul, can you enlighten me, because you're the cap guy?
Yeah.
What wasn't Josh Gordon on his rookie deal for like 7 years?
Yeah, he still is. Yeah, he still is. Josh Gordon is the only person who's going to be able to retire on a rookie contract and still have like 12 years in the NFL.
That's the funniest thing ever.
Yeah.
KC reaching to sign Gordon. I mean, offense, good Lord, who can't?
It's a wash right now. They signed Calvin Benjamin too. Like they're just grabbing veteran players.
Are you serious?
Oh no! We're talking last year.
Oh, okay.
Remember they signed? Yeah.
They need a tight end or a tackle. Like would Calvin Benjamin?
They didn't sign Jamarcus. They didn't sign Jamarcus Russell. Come on,
Matthias the man coming in. Hit that I thank the Steelers for our Super Bowl run. You know what? There has to be something that plays a little bit into that, Paul. I mean, a little bit of that humble pie, because you had the entire summer and the offseason of everyone just completely inflating the Bills. I mean, we were catching heat for the stuff that we were saying, like, hey, guys, the new season, like, you're going to start over. You're going to do this, X, Y, and Z. You're not the man until you become the man, all this other stuff. And we used to catch a lot of heat for that, which is fine. Yeah. I mean, we're used to that. But if you guys – a lot of you, if you followed us long enough, you know that we don't take the super fan approach over here. We try to look at where the team can get better and certain things that may hinder this team in the long run, or this, that, and the third. So, oh Lord, look who's here.
What?
Oh Lord. Hold on, let me scroll up to it. She's already talking about the draft.
Okay.
She's already talking about the draft, Jessica. Already here.
Going back to the Steelers game, it feels like an eternity ago right now, doesn't it? Doesn't it feel like an eternity ago?
It does. Yeah. And I think it really refocused the Bills to a what, Paul? What are they outscoring their last 3 opponents by? You said
118 to 21.
118 to 20.
I think 118 to 21. I think that's what it is. 118 to 20, 118 to 21, something like that.
And also their third game of not allowing a point in the first half.
Yeah. So, which is incredible, right?
Can we get some love for Leslie Frazier? I mean, come on. Yeah. Let's get some love for this guy. This guy is making a case to be a head coach next year.
I don't think we're going to see that happen next week, right? I'm willing to bet Bill's probably going to give up some points in the first half.
You want to bet?
Yeah.
Let's pick a number, Paul. We haven't bet in a while. We can get hashtag Nation on this. We need to get 100 people in here. So send this out to some friends and stuff. We got to make a bet here.
Yeah, I'm down.
We will not make the bet until there are 100 people in here. There's 95 currently.
Okay.
And then we'll make the bet. I would like to be afforded a few points, not just 0.
Yeah, no. I'll give you a little bump. It's not going to be much though.
$100. Daniel DLC coming in with $100. We don't bet money because Paul and I are both poor.
Yeah.
But the point is this:
we have 6 kids, man. We can't make money bets. It's the only thing we can sacrifice is our pride and dignity. Please.
I'm gonna pull out the Tom Brady video.
Oh yeah, where I had to eat cold chicken wings, gas station chicken wings at 7:30 in the morning with cucumber ranch dressing while wearing a Tom Brady jersey. You got me gas station chicken wings, Mario.
I can't do that to you again.
That was awful.
I would feel so bad. No, we bet
awful.
stuff that, like Paul said, it just hurts our pride to
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Like Paul will make me sprint through a mall and say something or whatever. Like,
ooh, 585. What happened to AJ Epinesa? It looked like he was in the doghouse. Epinesa has been so impactful for you. What benefit were you going to get playing him a lot today? Right?
Mhm.
He's been so impactful. You're going to get boogie snaps. You activated him. Yeah, you know, you activated him. You feel like he's earned it. You're getting boogie snaps. That's going to be what happens. I don't think that has anything to do with him being in the doghouse.
They did not release the snap counts yet for this game, so I don't know.
It's going to be down though. It's going to be down a bit. Jerry played an awful lot. I didn't see Mario Addison out there very much at all. So you know, I think some of those snaps came. I think that's where boogie snaps came primarily.
Did you see the pick that Edmonds had?
You mean where he actually caught the ball?
Stop it.
Edmonds should have like 12 interceptions this year.
No,
he should have 12 interceptions. He actually caught the ball.
Did you see Addison fly across and almost knock it down before he picked it?
Yeah.
He was like extending his arm, almost knocked the ball out of the air. I'm like, what are you doing there?
Matthias in with the super chat. Do you want to grab that?
Yes, I'll get that. Matthias, let us bet for charity then. Okay, we can do that. We can definitely do that.
All right, deal. Yeah, that sounds good. All right. I'm willing to give you 12. I'll give
12
you 12
points.
12 points. Yeah.
Ooh,
if the Bills allow less than 12 points, you win.
Okay.
12 is a push. We'll count 12 as a push, right? It's an even number, so we'll count 12 as a push.
I already know what I want my bet to be. I mean,
13 and over.
We'll donate to the charities as we have. But what I want my bet to be is you have to dress up in a Halloween costume for post game for the Miami game.
All right.
On the 31st.
Deal. Okay. Yeah, deal. What am I going as?
I gotta see that. Oh wait, I get to pick it? No, I'll leave that to the nation.
They're all gonna say Brian Dable. Let's just get it over with, right? They're all gonna say Brian Dable. It doesn't matter. They all.
Does that mean you have to shave your head and grow a beard?
No, it just means I need to start eating Chex Mix, like a lot of it, to prepare my body for whatever that's gonna be.
Mario has to dress up as Jane from Firefly. I don't even know who that is. I have no idea who that
is. You guys are gross.
I have no idea. The guy next to Dable. Oh,
hey, yeah. I don't know who that
Sasquatch?
is. Does anybody know who the Sasquatch is that sits next to Brian Dable? I haven't gone through the Bills. I should probably go through the Buffalo Bills staff page to figure it out. But there's some guy that looks like the brawny man sitting next to Brian Dable. Let's see. Buffalo Bills coaches. I'll find him.
I got a better one, though. I got a better one. I want you to film an episode as another Buffalo Bills YouTube creator.
Okay, I figured out. That's the assistant.
You won't do it.
No, not a chance. Not a chance. Our channel will get dismissed from YouTube so
Paul
quickly.
Berg, you looked better last week without the man bun. It was raining, Paul. It was raining. What are you doing?
Let's see here. That's Ryan Wendell, the assistant offensive line coach, sitting next to Dable up in the box.
Okay.
Yeah, right. That's who that
is. Evan Anderson, be Dan Mitchell.
I told you, our channel will be gone in a heartbeat.
I don't vape. I can't. I love Dan too. We got to get a collab soon with Dan. I love it. I don't know if I can be Dan. So, Paul, okay. So, it seems like it played out the way that we were talking this week about the Bills versus the team that they should have demolished, which they did. Okay, so they killed the team they should have.
Yep.
Offensively, they put things on tape that Kansas City has to delegate some defensive snaps, defensive reps to this week. Interestingly enough, I even told Joe this before the broadcast. This week was the second straight week that the Bills played a team that played on the previous Thursday.
Oh, that's interesting. Normally, that's a
disadvantage.
That's a huge disadvantage.
It's a huge, so these teams that had extra time to prepare for Buffalo still couldn't do nothing.
Right.
And it was interesting to see that. But if you don't have the horses, you don't have the horses. I understand that.
Well, Matt Soda brings up an interesting counter, right? Somebody asked where Gabe Davis is at. Speaking of, being at a disadvantage, right? Gabe Davis has kind of fallen to the wayside, right? Because the Sanders been so productive. Right. You're not going to give Sanders snaps away. Like, he's just been so productive. But do we see a very healthy dose of Gabe Davis against Kansas City? Right? Gabe Davis put up a bunch of film last year, but up to this year has been relatively radio silent. Is that something that you draw up 3 or 4 plays that are really designed around Gabe's strengths and then hope to get to them in Kansas City? So that way you can kind of maximize his potential. I think the Bills have done the same thing with Dawson Knox, right? They've done a good job of being less reliant on his production, and more allowing, they're really letting Josh pick better opportunities for Knox as opposed to kind of force feeding him, which is what we've seen last year. Do you think we see something similar with Gabe going into Kansas City?
I think that the maturity of Josh Allen, which you're seeing now, 20 for 29 today, the maturity of him being able to go through his progressions, he might be going through his progressions a little too quick. And I know that's going to sound very goofy to a lot of people, but after the season that Stephon Diggs had last year, and after what Beasley showed you last week, I think a lot of he's going off his first and second reads fast enough that by the time those guys are out of their cuts, he's starting to hit those guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You see him looking a little bit more for Sanders. You see him looking a little bit more for Knox. You know what I mean? Sanders has been consistent, though. He's catching like around 5 balls a game, 4 or 5 balls a game for, 60, 70 yards. I mean, I just remember the last 2 in my head. He caught like 5 the last 2 games. So you start to see him progress through his reads, and he's starting to hit these guys that are wide open who are being covered by the 3rd and 4th corners. So now you got to realize that too. That's a big deal. So if you're talking about, your first corner you put on Diggs, you put your second corner on Sanders. Let's say that's the normal. Then you got Beasley and Knox playing against linebackers and 3rd corners. They're going to win that matchup all day. So maybe that's the game plan going into it, where you're saying, hey, listen, this may be open a little bit more frequently than it normally is. And Davis is just not on the field for those opportunities. But when he gets in there, a lot of the catches that I've seen Davis make, he's more advanced than, I'll say this from last year, he's more advanced than a rookie should have been last year, where he was adjusting his route to when Allen was scrambling around trying to find somebody.
Right.
And now you see Sanders doing that, who's a veteran, he already knows to do that. But Davis was doing that last year a little bit, but not every time. Sanders does that every time. So what are you going to pick? You're going to pick Sanders to do it, or you're going to pick Davis to do it? Davis is a wonderful, problem to have, in the fact that if Sanders goes down, or if like Beasley goes down, not to say he could play the slot like that, because you could drop Sanders down in the slot and then put Davis outside.
Right.
He's a great problem to have in there. So I don't say it as like he's lost a step or he's in the doghouse or he's not doing it. You just have all these other horses in front of him that he can't get on the field. But I hope that doesn't mess with his psyche. You know what I mean? As a guy who was a big contributor last year, now he's not really contributing a whole lot to the offense. You know what I mean?
Well, let's kind of back this up a little bit, and I want to talk about that Kansas City defense, because they look like hot garbage. Jay Barkley says, "Can we talk about KC's defense? They're not as good as last season." No, that defense is getting worse by the week, like officially worse by the week. This offensive line, first off, do you think we see the same line next week? Mining Mongo's injury, right? Assuming Mongo's back, right?
Yes.
So assuming Mongo's back, do we see the same line next week? Do you think Spencer Brown played well enough to earn the starting spot at right tackle, and you move Daryl Williams down to right guard? Or do you think this was just a little nudge from the coaching staff to Cody Ford by saying, listen, I know we've held this spot for you for a while, but this is about production.
They are banging their head against the wall for Cody Ford. They really are. I mean, let's just say this.
It feels that way. It feels that way. Yeah.
Let's just say it. It's not Greg Little. Let's just put it that way. I'm done. No, what I'm point. My point in saying that was, okay, so I would like to see the same lineup, but I want Mongo in there at left guard instead of Butker. And then you can leave the line the way it is. I was concerned, and I brought this to you earlier before the game even started, Paul, of moving Williams down to guard, because that's where he struggled with that's what he struggled with in Carolina. But then
Sure
you
did.
look at who's in front of him. Who did he play with? Did he struggle because of the offensive system that was down there, and he just had trouble with it? I don't remember CMC having a bad game down there when he was playing guard. So that being said, you look at the Kansas City Chiefs. They've given up 29, 36, 30, and 30.
Yep. That's a lot.
I mean,
it's a lot.
And not, they're 2-2, but they scored 33, 35, 24, and 42.
Mm-hmm.
So what do the Buffalo Bills, although, I mean, they're experimenting with their line and this and that. We could talk about the line, like I said, like we are. Do the Buffalo Bills go in there and try to have a shootout with Kansas City? Or do they sit there and go, we need to limit we still need to limit possessions from Mahomes?
I mean, I think it's a reasonable argument, Mar, because we've talked about, you need to limit high-powered offenses. You limit their opportunities.
Yes.
Right. You still look at that, and that logic still applies. And we talked about it like, well, teams are going to try and do that against Buffalo, right? You want to take these teams that are putting up a lot of points, like Buffalo is. I think they scored on their last 8 possessions of today's game, right? Like, I think they did actually. They scored on the last 8 possessions, and the reality is, like, you just have to pay attention to what teams are doing against you. But does Buffalo still deploy the same theory as they did against Kansas City last time? I mean, it's a reasonable argument, but that defense doesn't scare me. I think you're okay to get in a shootout here, right? I think you're probably okay to get into a shootout. I don't think you're going to get the turnovers. Right?
No.
And that's where a large amount of these points are being generated from are the Buffalo's been very fortunate in generating turnovers. Those opportunities are probably going to dry up against an Andy Reid led team. Like, they're probably going to dry up. So is this team really built for, a shootout? If you subtract the turnovers, can Buffalo get into a shootout with Kansas City?
The Buffalo Bills minus the turnover getting into a shootout. Well, things are clicking. I mean, I don't see anybody on that front wall. This is what I wanted to look at. I want to look at the depth chart of the Kansas City Chiefs real quick. That's why I just want to take a look at it. You got Chris Jones, Jaron Reed, Derek Natty, and then Frank Clark. Frank Clark's out. So the front four doesn't scare me. You got Daniel Sorensen, who's sort of like the Swiss Army knife in there, along with Tyrann Mathieu. Those are the 2 safeties. Those are the guys that Allen needs to move around with his eyes and do a bunch of different things. But I'm not worried about their corners. I mean, you could get into a shootout. And Chevy brought up a great point. He said last time Diggs had a torn groin, Beasley had a broken fibula, and John, no physicality Brown, he said. And
there's a reason why he's unemployed, man.
There's definitely a reason. So they don't have anything defensively that scares me. However, I mean, the Buffalo Bills right now. Who got Andy Reid here? Andy Reid
I know.
On the stream.
No, I'm excited that Andy Reid stopped and put down his anchor bar menu to join us on the stream.
You're getting a lot of chances to score from your defense. Not happening to my team. Okay. Yes, I'll answer yes. I think you can get into a shootout with Kansas City, and then you got to have those very the time management for the Buffalo Bills has always worried me, Paul. It's worried me.
Yeah, I get that.
We take timeouts at certain points where you shouldn't take a timeout. They don't call certain plays when they should call certain plays. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going into here's what I mean. Here's what I want to explain to Hashtag Nation. You're going into a certain moment in the game where it's a second down. Okay. You got to call up to the OC, and the OC's got to call down and say, listen, are we going for it on 4th here? Because I'll call my 3rd down plays accordingly to coincide with the 4th down play if we're going to go for it. So then you get to 3rd down, and you get there, it's like 4th and 2, 4th and 1.5 and stuff. And then all of a sudden, you see the quarterback turn around and they call a timeout.
Right.
And then he walks. You're just burning it. You don't need to do that. If you have what you're going to do prior to that, that's what I'm talking about with game management. Well, that is going to be a tell in that Kansas City game. I hope it doesn't come down to time management. That's what I'm going to say.
I mean, Mar, I think you could take I think the Bills' time management issues have been a little covered up by the fact that going into today, they were the most efficient team on 3rd downs. And today was not a good day for them. They're 5 of 12, right? Which is not a good day for them. They should have been the 7 of 12 or 8 for 12, specifically against this team. But I think it's been their time management issues have been covered up by the fact that they've been so efficient on third down. They've led the league in efficiency. The time management isn't a big deal when you're winning games 40-0 and 35-0. Time management's not an issue.
You're about as efficient as Nick Saban. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't have to call anything right now. But that's what's going to worry me is like, if you want to get into a shootout, your time management and your personnel decisions have to be on point and on key there. You can't trade. If you're lucky enough to get a possession from Kansas City on a fumble or a pick or a turnover on downs, you got to turn those into 7, not 3, because that's how potent their offense is. See, Kansas City's going, listen, we just invested $450 million in our quarterback. We're going to live and die by him. They're 31st in the league in points against right now, and they're 2-2. If you're 31st in the league, you're 0-4 right now. I don't care. Any other year, you're 0-4.
Absolutely true.
So their offense is obviously keeping them on life support, and you're going to have that potent offense go against what's going to be, after all the numbers come out, the number 1 defense in the NFL right now.
Yeah. Well, and Sean McDermott said in his press conference when he was asked about, does the team value those rankings? And he's like, rankings don't matter. They don't mean anything. He's like, no, they don't pay attention to that. Rankings don't mean anything.
He just doesn't want to answer that question anymore.
No, I really think his team doesn't think that stuff matters. Like, if you listen to every player says, yeah, we got, we're going to watch the tape. We'll clean it up and we'll talk about Kansas City tomorrow. Like, every player answered the questions that way. And I truthfully believe that's the way that that's the culture that's bred there is, yeah, today we didn't execute perfect. There's always a way to improve. We're going to watch that tonight. We're going to watch it tomorrow. We'll talk about Kansas City once we're done with that. Like, I really truthfully believe they believe that. Now, I do want to point out, Jessica Tennis asked, who was it? Did
you put it up? Or
Tommy Doyle. Yeah, did Doyle get in the game today? I did. Okay. Yeah, Tommy Doyle actually did see playing time. He saw it with Trubisky. They did a full line swap with Trubisky. The whole line, with the exception of Bucker. Bucker was the only starter that was still out there. He
started a lot of games last year. Come on.
He did, but not this year, right? It's not his role this year. No. Yeah, it's just not his
role. You don't need air quotes for him. He started before. Stop it.
And and Spencer Brown still stayed out there at right tackle, which I think is fine, right? I think that you needed to get the playing time. That's totally fine.
Don't you always talk about McDermott's time on task? He's always talking about that.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Game, it's even magnified. I love it.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask a very dangerous question to you because I brought this up to you last year.
Okay.
Earlier this offseason.
Have you read my shirt first?
Earlier this offseason. Yeah, I know. Sarcastic? Me?
Never.
So do you think that Spencer Brown playing at right tackle, because now you've got Daryl Williams on a really affordable contract, even for a tackle, right? And you got it for a couple more years now. At guard, it's not as affordable, but still absorbable, right? You're still okay. If Spencer Brown continues to start for the rest of the season, is playing Daryl Williams at guard going to hurt his trade value? Because you could trade Daryl Williams for a first-round pick at that tackle, with the way he's played, at that contract, he's a first-round pick. He's a first-round. He's valued at a first-round pick. Dude, what'd they trade Cordy Glenn for?
Stop it. Cordy Glenn was 76 years old. Hold on.
I'm just saying that Daryl Williams carries a ton of value, and does playing in that guard compromise that value?
I don't know about first. Okay, so he's 29 in the first year of his deal. Did he sign a 3 for 15? Why does 3 for 15 come to my head? I'll go to over the cap.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely a 3 year. So you'd have 2 more after this year.
Okay, I definitely want to know what the contract deals were because I got a comparable.
Okay.
So if I go to Daryl Williams.
Well, and Spin says that there's no way that somebody would pay a first-round pick for a tackle. The tackle play that's come out of college the last 5 years has been some of the worst tackle play I've ever seen.
Awful.
It's
so
awful.
bad.
So if you get a starter, like that's why you're looking at free agent tackles, and there's guys who are 35 and 36 years old still starting in the NFL at the tackle position because they're from a generation that didn't suck ass at playing tackle. It's bad tackle play coming out of college. It's very bad.
So if you look at Daryl Williams, he signed a 3-year, $24 million contract with the Bills this past March, 13.75 in guarantees. That is a great that is. We'll just put it this way: that's more lucrative as a guard than it is a tackle.
Yeah,
I don't think you're hurting his value, but it's still a good deal if you're a team that wants a guard that needs a guard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, his history I think hurts him more than his contract does as far as a guard goes.
Okay,
because when he played at guard, he really wasn't as good as he was as a tackle. But if you want to trade him as a tackle, I wouldn't. You're going to have if you trade him now. What I'm saying is you have 2.5 years with him. He's going to be 31 when he retires. If you're going to trade at least a second-round pick, that's a 4-year deal for a starter.
Right.
So I don't.
It's an interesting conversation. I don't think it's not going to happen this year, right? It's not a this year conversation. This is a next offseason thing. We're just putting the coin in the bank now to say, hey, let's remember that we talked about this, right? And Vita Vegas says Casey gave 2 first-rounders for a tackle from the Ravens. Like the value is there for established players.
It is.
The value is there.
But you remember, if you move him down to guard,
that's only with Buffalo, right? Does him playing guard now impact his trade value next offseason?
No, I don't think it does. The reason the comparable I wanted to do was you sign Quentin Spain to a 3-year, $18 million deal at a guard, and then you end up cutting him, and you had to eat that deal.
Sure did.
They're not worried about eating deals for certain contracts.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying for the Buffalo Bills. But God, was this a prelude to try to talk about Deion Dawkins going down to guard? Is that what you wanted to do?
No. I relegated myself to that one. I don't think Deion Dawkins played well today at all.
I don't really
had trouble with
he did not have his best game, but I just don't want people to be really short-sighted about Spencer Brown and Williams moving down and say, "Oh, yeah, you could just put Brown, you could just put Spencer Brown in there, and then you can get rid of Williams." No. This is a guy who single-handedly ate T.J. Watt's lunch last year.
Sure did.
And played solid all last year and earned the deal that he has. I don't just give those guys away. You know what I mean?
But I do think it's important to talk about that tackle guard relationship, right? Because when Dawkins played really well, he had Richie next to him, right? And then the following season, he didn't play as well just because he had a myriad of whoever was healthy playing next to him. And here we're 4 games into the season. And where are we now? We're right back where we were last year, where at least he had Butker next to him today, who he played with the last half of last season. So at least there's a little continuity there. But, it's not tackles consistency can also be a product of the guard play next to them. I think that's an important point to make.
Very true. And it's all a manifestation of the communication that you have from the center as well.
Yep.
You didn't pay that money to Morse just to be there and be like a guy, hey, I used to play with Mahomes. That's not why you signed him. You signed him because you felt that he was a guy that can get that team. Him and OG Bobby Johnson are like the 2 guys that can communicate everything across that line to see what's going on while Josh gets it. Now, did he have poor play today because Josh was calling all the line calls, calling all the protections? We don't know. Yeah, we got to take a look at that. That's one of those things we're not privy to.
Josh didn't seem too active before the snap, like more than usual.
He didn't.
So I don't think that was the case.
So if Morris was making all those calls, then it's communication has to go out to Dawkins and everything else. I think Williams played great. I think the line played great today, but then again, once again, we got to go back to that thing. You have to go against you think about the opponent they went up against. Like, okay, they beat the tar out of Houston, and this is the 5 that they put out there. Yeah. Was Ford upset about that? I bet you he was. I bet you he's like, they would have ran for 200 if I was in there too. I know Cody Ford's saying that when he goes home tonight.
Yeah. Well, maybe this is just the straw that stirs that drink,
Right? Maybe that just lights a fire under his, what.
Well, I hope it does. If that was the intent, then I hope that it did. It had the intended consequences, right? I hope that it had the outcome that they're looking for, because they keep going back to Cody Ford like they owe him something, and
he's got pictures of Bean somewhere. I think. So tennis comes in and says, Tennis comes in and says, honestly, I thought they might put Brown at guard and keep Williams at tackle, as I mentioned to Paul earlier this week. Did she mention that on the coffee the coffee talk?
Yeah, it's Spencer Brown at guard is, I mean, he's not normally guards in the NFL have transitioned to be more stout, right? He's a little lanky to be a guard right now.
Williams?
Right now. No, Brown.
Brown. Oh yeah.
Yeah, a little lanky to be a guard right now.
He's a monster, though. But
oh yeah,
you start to look at the draft prospects that we talk about at hashtag all the time. They took the most physically gifted athlete at the position at the time, and look what they're doing with him. I mean, he's there's something to be said about a player. You don't have to do anything physical. You don't have to try to hide his physical deficiencies when you're coaching him. That's huge. As a former coach, that's huge. Like, okay, I have a quarterback that can't throw 10 yards. What are we going to try to do to mask this? We're running screens, we're running draws, we're running all this other stuff. You know what I mean? You don't have to mask anything with a lot of these draft picks that the Buffalo Bills bring in. You're like, listen, you're raw. We need to get you here. How are we going to get you here? You know what I mean? So,
yeah, and Spencer Brown starting is a very rare commodity for this coaching staff. They would not normally give a player drafted in that round that quick an opportunity to start unless they felt it was warranted. So Spencer Brown starting today is kind of unheard of with this staff. Like, it's kind of unheard of. I mean, Matt Milano outplayed Ramon Humber for 9 weeks and they still didn't give Milano a start. Like, it's what this coaching staff does. They just do not start drafted players early. They don't do it unless you're a first round player.
Well, I mean, they've been doing a few things this season that are very uncharacteristic. I mean, you think about Rousseau and Basham. True, they had to get younger at the position, but those aren't McDermott defensive ends.
Right.
Those are Leslie Frazier defensive ends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're doing a bunch
of Basham is a McDermott.
He could be
Basham's a McDermott.
Okay.
Yeah, Basham's a McDermott.
Bill from upstate New York comes. I asked Paul Thursday to rest Milano. Now he's injured. We're not affiliated with the Bills, Bill. I mean, I would have benched Milano too, but I called McDermott up. He didn't return my phone call.
Yeah, so. we also don't know the severity, right? That's just one of those things where if it's a tweak, just sit down. Like we're not really going to know until Tuesday where he is. So speculation aside, he didn't finish the game, but I wouldn't judge it to be anything serious at this point.
Let me ask you this, Paul: if it's last year, does he finish the game?
If it's last year, contract year, you mean?
Yeah.
Nah.
You sure? Come on.
What do you got to prove? What do you got to prove? The fourth game of the season, you're pounding him into the pavement.
Contract years are different animals. You know this.
Get out of here with that.
Why are you ignoring?
Well, you think Levi Wallace was on the sideline crying when Dane Jackson went in for him because it's Levi Wallace's contract? Get out of here with that.
Yes, because Dane Jackson's a manimal, and you know this.
I do love me some Dane Jackson.
Stop denying your instincts, Paul.
I do.
All right, I think we're at that time, Paul. I think we're at that time.
Yep.
Are we at is there anything else you want to bring up? I'm sorry.
Yeah, schedule for this upcoming week.
Yes.
So, lots going on. If you have not moved over, so if you are part of the hashtag membership, so if you've hit that join button with hashtag, we are moving over to Patreon for all the major memberships. You, of course, keep the practice squad, which gives you the emblems and our custom, custom emojis and stuff here. But we're going to be moving over to Patreon and actually it's a little bit more affordable for everybody over on Patreon. It actually allows us to give more money to our charity and it's less money for you and more money for everybody else. So it works out pretty good. So we're moving over to Patreon. So obviously be aware of that. The link's in the description. Mario. What was that?
Oh, real quick. Pierre goes, Paul will leave Mario for Dane Jackson. That is 100% accurate.
That I will not confirm nor deny that is fact. Then Thursday morning coffee with me. That's normally like 8:15, between 8 and 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Thursday morning coffee. Mario, you did the hangover. Do you know what time you're going to try and get that done on Saturdays?
The hashtag hangover is probably going to be around the same time that you run the morning coffee. It's going to be Saturday mornings. We're gonna try to make it an hour session where the first half hour we talk about the upcoming opponents of the Buffalo Bills, because the Friday night tailgate we take care of I mean, Mike and Tommy, they take care of who the Buffalo Bills are going to be playing that week. We kind of preview a few weeks down the line for the Buffalo Bills on the hashtag Hangover, and then talk about anything else in the NFL. You guys want to talk fantasy football news? You want to talk any other teams that are going on in the NFL? Any news stories that are coming on in the NFL? I'm 100% into the chat, so I just post what that chat brings, and then we end up talking about it. So.
And on top of that, we want to make sure that we thank our sponsors, CBDX.com. With promo code HTS, you get 20% off all orders, as well as a free gift for all your CBD products, and MrRogersHomes.com. So, Sean, obviously, you're a real estate relocation specialist, or, if you're looking to buy, property out in Arizona, go ahead and hit up Sean. Bills fan, love him. I do want to, before we go, Mar, the last thing that I want to mention is, what do you think? Give me a score prediction for Kansas City Buffalo. What do you think that's going to be? Listen, you're already on the books for Buffalo allowing less than 12 points in the first half. So choose wisely.
Okay, all right, let me see if I get this right. Because whoever watches this later is going to know this. You're asking me at 6:30 of the Sunday before.
Yeah, yeah, sure am. Let's go.
42-35 Buffalo.
Ooh, yeah, that's a big one.
I really don't. I mean, as well as the Buffalo Bills defense has been playing, this is really going to be the first test of this defense.
Yeah,
the biggest first test that they're ever going to get.
It's going to be tiring. Right? It's going to be tiring. I do want to point out that Buffalo has had the advantage on their opponents. If you take the time of possession, the last two games, yes. Buffalo has held the ball for 26 minutes more than their opponents the last two games. Guys, that's an entire half of football. That's an entire half of football. Good Lord. I know. What the hell? So that's the last two games they've combined for like 26 minutes of possession time over their opponent. You're not going to get that with Kansas City, right? Like it's going to be there might be because how many drives did the Bills have in total today? Total drive 12. Kansas City and Buffalo might combine for 30 drives. There might be 15 individual offensive drives.
You think so? You think they'll score that quick, both teams?
It's gonna be a lot, man. The football's gonna be flying all over the place. Your score prediction, I think is gonna be pretty close.
I'll say this now, and I'll repeat it next week, Paul. The Buffalo Bills beat them like 30-7, and this defense is the real deal. They still didn't win the Super Bowl. That's all I'm saying. We can act like Ravens fans and totally celebrate a regular season victory, or we can be like, okay, we knocked down a hurdle.
This one will feel good.
It will. Yeah,
what I'm saying is
they're not going. They're not winning any championship next week. I'm just letting you guys know that right now.
Yeah, this team's very week to week, man. Like these Bills players are very week to week. So yes. I think the fans will celebrate it like it's a Super Bowl victory. But remember, this is bulletin board material for the playoffs, right? If we beat Kansas City, now we're on top of that mountain the next time they come back to town. We obviously want it to be in our house, and beating them would make that, a more likely reality, right? It would. If you lose to Kansas City, then you're still looking up at them, and this team will thrive off that. So I don't think this game makes or breaks your chances for the playoffs, but it does impact home field advantage, and that's why it's so important.
Psychologically, it's a big deal because if Kansas City beats Buffalo, and we'll get to the row session in 1 second, guys. If Kansas City beats Buffalo, then it's going to be the constant battle of Buffalo thinks they could beat Kansas City in the playoffs. Kansas City already knows they can beat Buffalo. And that is a huge thing when two teams go against each other, that mindset. So hopefully that's all I'm going to say, as far as that goes for Kansas City next week. But, we're going to have some fun details for you guys next week for the Kansas City game, which is Sunday night game.
Yeah.
What are we going to do on Sunday, Paul? I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do.
It's late night, man.
It's going to be late night. I have the Monday off, so I'm happy about that.
You're a wise man. You're a wise man.
I teach, so I get the Monday off. So I'm going to start the clock at 2 minutes right now, ladies and gentlemen. The roast session of Paul and Mario has begun. We ain't scared. I love it. We don't lose anything next week either.
Ooh, Sean, tell us to fly out, do a show at his pool. I don't know. Do they have Labatt Blue Light out there, Sean?
I mean, we could bring that as our carry on, but Sean didn't see the beginning of the episode where we said we're very poor. Watch the rest of the division lose.
It is true.
The AFC West is pretty stacked this year. I'm not gonna lie.
Not every division, like the AFC East right now. Buffalo is obviously the clear winner. You know, they're 2 games ahead of the Jets. You know, it's the Jets won.
Apologies to Ryan over at Jets Talk 24/7.
The Jets won today, man. They tried to lose that game so bad.
They tried.
They tried so much.
Are my things not loading? Like, why are we not getting roasted?
It says, Mar, thank you for wearing that disgusting rag on your head. It obviously put our guys over the top.
I wasn't wearing this during the game. This is only post-game stuff. Do you realize when we get off a post-game, I immediately rip this Wendy's-looking thing off my head? Hold on, I'll give you the Wendy's look. There's the Wendy's look. Thank you, guys. There we go. Looks like he dressed with Billy O'Brien's Goodwill manager.
Please put that hat down. I can't look at that.
You don't have to. You just look at your webcam.
Dan, I take it back. Pierre Martinez asks, are the Dolphins done? I mean,
I had such high hopes for the Dolphins.
I did too.
Did you hear Tua might get traded?
Why not? Why not? Go ahead.
Well, unless it's the CFL, I don't see.
Look, it smells like broken promises and crushed dreams.
Luck's first comment.
Yeah, I can't say I remember seeing Luck up there. Yeah.
Are we pulling for the Bucks or Pats tonight?
I am pulling for the Patriots solely because the whole dynamic of Brady versus Belichick. Just get me. Let's just let that live on a little bit longer.
I got that on the hashtag hangover, Paul.
Yeah.
And I gave 2 different answers. I said, for standings wise, AFC East, I want the Bucks to win. However, for the Patriots to beat the brakes off of the Bucks tonight, I mean, you think about it in the long run. Everyone's already said, well, see, it was Brady. It wasn't Belichick. That's why, he ended up winning the Super Bowl. Oh, yeah. Brady went to a team that had the 3rd highest scoring in the NFL the previous year, and he made them the 3rd highest scoring team in the NFL that next year. So
yeah, right. The difference was that Brady turned the ball over like 25 less times. Let's just be honest.
That is 100% accurate, sir.
That's what happened.
There should be a bet between you two on the Pats versus Tampa, Pierre Martinez says. What would we bet on? No, I was saying I want the Patriots to beat the brakes off of Brady, but I know for standings wise for the AFC East, what the Bills have to do, the Bucks got to beat them. It doesn't count for conference standings, I know. I'm hoping the Jets, Miami, and New England are all 1-3. Jessica Tennis coming in. This is kind of an interesting roast session. I like it.
That's all right. Tis time though, isn't it, Mar?
I just started the clock for the roast and no one did anything.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right. I'm down.
We still got 110 people ready to roast us. All right, ladies and gentlemen from Hashtag Nation, thank you for joining us for our Hashtag Sports presentation of the post-game Buffalo Bills versus the Houston Texans, where the Buffalo Bills have secured their 2nd shutout in 3 weeks. They have some historic numbers. If you go back to the beginning of the broadcast, you're going to see some historic numbers compared to some great defenses over the years. Paul, what'd you got for them? I
forgot. Every Tuesday, I do a dumpster fire of the week. So if there's any candidates for things that were the dumpster fire of the week anywhere in the sports world, I'd like to keep it around the NFL. It doesn't have to be Bills related. If there's anything that happened in the NFL that was just absurd, then make sure you put it in the comments section because it'll be a candidate for Tuesday's dumpster fire of the week. Yeah. And let's not forget Razor Sharp picks on Wednesday. Joe does picks on Wednesday. So we've got tons of content on the network now.
What I wanted to let you guys know as well is that if you end up becoming a Patreon, those comments for the Thursday morning coffee with Paul and the hashtag hangover with me on Saturdays, those comments all get read first.
Yeah.
And answered first. Right. So if you want to be a Patreon member, Paul and I will explain the logistics to current hashtag members, how you're going to do all that stuff in order to still have your tag and your, what was it called? Their little emblem, little hashtag emblem.
Yeah.
And then you go over to Patreon and all that other stuff. So roast for next week. Texans are for dumpster fire of the week. Hey, yeah.
We just got called the AJ Klein of podcasts. I'm not
Wait,
sure.
Steve Rose. We're ending on Steve Rose. We're going to end on Steve Rose. The AJ Klein of podcasts. Hopefully,
We're just here. Is that what you mean? We're just here.
Steve, you hurt my feelings, Shrek. You hurt my feelings. All right, we're out of here. That's Paul.
Have a good one, guys.
Hashtag. We're out of here.